working with tables. Now, of course, you shouldn't be working with tables if you're using PowerPoint rather than Excel. In 2016, Dave Parody ran an internet survey, and using tables instead of charts came as number 4th in the list of the most annoying thing one can do in a financial presentation. But I think in any presentations you shouldn't be using tables, rather you should be using charts. That said, I do realize that sometimes you have to use tables for one reason or another. And this is what Keynote offers as a default table template, and this is what PowerPoint offers as a default. And this is what you get as a result. This is a real-life example. Somebody actually designed this table, and I think this is rather sad. This table is definitely not a good idea. So let's use our superpower of typography to improve readability of this table. And thing number 1, let's just delete everything we can consider decoration. Let's just leave the text intact. Secondly, let's have a look at the text, and if you see any words that just keep repeating themselves, this is a sign that we should probably delete them or move them somewhere. I don't think we need to repeat year in cell after cell. Okay, this is not bad, but let's solve some problems. Those thin gray lines, they do actually solve a problem of the eye trying to follow from the text to the number to the next number. So I think they have a functional meaning. Now, I don't know whose bright idea this was to align to the top by default. I think we should align to the center, or maybe even to the bottom, because this makes following from the text to the number to the next number really, really easy. And as a final touch, we can brighten the header if you so wish. And I think the difference is rather dramatic. Let's have a look at another real-life example of a slightly more complex table. And what I immediately do not like about this table is those bright red and orangey highlights, if you will, I don't know, fills. There's just too much of them. They steal all the attention that I have. First, let's just change the typeface, because Arial and Calibri on one slide, oh come on, this is just way too much. This is a slightly better typeface called Avenir. Secondly, let's disentangle this table a little bit, because in the design, whoever did this had subheader and a footnote inside the table. And if you think about it, they have nothing to do with the table. They shouldn't be in the table. So let's move the header up there and the footnote down there. Now, let's deal with those bright orangey things. Let's replace them with something more subtle yet visible, with red and orange flags. I think you know how to do it. You go insert symbol and then you find the appropriate symbol. And what you see that they are not nearly as visible as those bright orange fills. And you know why? Because orange lines compete with them. What we have is the grid, which is so bright that it doesn't allow those flags to shine. So let's just replace those grids with something more subtle, with thin gray or maybe black lines. And I think this is overall a much better idea. Some final touches and voila. Another thing we should be working on is have a close look at the line number 2 and number 3. They should be really different from line number 1 and line number 4, because they represent a separate logical level. And now they do look different. And I think the difference is rather dramatic, and this is all done with the power of typography. So, some rules. If you have a really wide column, it flushes left. If you have a narrow column, you can center the text in this column. If you have more than 4 words, they should flush left. And use those thin gray lines to guide the eye. If you have 4 words or less, they might flush right, because it produces the eye movements. And as a rule, numbers should align to the right, and they should have the same amount of decimals. That said, I still have to remind you that we should be, for as much as possible, we should be converting tables to charts. There's a reason we do not present from Excel. Excel is an analytical instrument and a wonderful instrument. However, this is not a presentational instrument. This is for the lone researcher to study. When we presenting, we should present meaning rather than numbers. And in order to create meaning, we need to draw a chart.